Good morning. Welcome to the Sunday live stream. Today is Sunday, November 16th. Welcome. How are you doing? My name is Angela. I am a front-end developer and software engineer in St. Paul, Minnesota. Heidi's like, oh, you're talking. You must be talking to me. Heidi is my Sheltie. How's it going? I'm a software engineer and front-end developer in St. Paul, Minnesota. And on this channel, we practice HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. No frameworks, no libraries. We don't have anything against those things. Don't read into it. It's not a conspiracy. I don't hate those things. They have their place. We just like to practice vanilla. We just like to get back to basics. We just like to understand the basics. I highly recommend that if you want to be better, especially at CSS, just do one or two projects with vanilla CSS. I promise it will help you improve your skills. It will help you understand inheritance, cascading, specificity. I was a SAS user for 12 years, like a long time. As I learned CSS, SAS, as soon as I started learning development. And it's pretty much the only thing I've been using for over a decade. And what I learned switching to vanilla CSS is that I was out of control. My specificity, my nesting, switching to vanilla CSS about 4 or 5 months ago, it has completely changed how I work as a front-end developer, how I write CSS. I am so much better. I have improved more in the last 4 months than I have in the last 4 years. Just cannot recommend it enough. I'm not saying you have to do it forever. I'm just saying if you want to develop a better, deeper understanding of CSS, try it. With just one or two projects, try it. So there we go. And Paulo Fernando, good morning. Greetings from Brazil. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. Malik Robinson is here. Malik is one of our mods. Hoodie looking very elegant today. Nice choice. Here's the thing. It's cold out. It's November. I live in St. Paul, Minnesota. I live on the Canadian border. Interestingly enough, I've never been to Canada. It's actually like 2 or 3 hours away. But Minnesota borders Canada. So I am in the middle of the country, about as far north as you can get. Well, except for the people who live closer to the border than I do. But you know what I mean. It gets cold here in the winter. And we just had a couple of days of really warm weather. Like warm enough that my apartment was like 72, 73. And I was like, oh my God, am I going to have to turn on the air conditioning? It's starting to feel warm in here. I did not turn on the air conditioning in November. Now the temperature in my apartment is perfect. It's 67 degrees Fahrenheit. To me, that is the perfect temperature. So it's in the 40s or 50s outside. I live in an apartment, so I have people all around me insulating me. So it stays, pretty warm in here. But yeah, I'm at 67 degrees and the hoodie, this is like sweater weather. Sweaters, hoodies. This is the weather for that. I'm here for it. I'm living it. I'm loving it. So thank you for the compliment. I'm very much enjoying the weather. So Andreas is here. Hello from Greece. Welcome. So happy to have you. Been using vanilla JavaScript for my own projects. Yeah, I need to get better at JavaScript. I say this every year, although I think I'm better, admittedly, than I was a year ago. The thing I really love doing is building UIs, and I use JavaScript when I need it. I think I'm coming to terms with the fact that I don't have a deep desire to be really good at JavaScript. My desire is to be competent. I think I'm barely competent. And I'll just tell you right now, I'm all in on ChatGPT and GitHub Copilot. Why not? I mean, once I really started to learn how to use GitHub Copilot, I was like, why do I need to spend hours of my life learning how to do this? I'm not an object-oriented programmer. I've done that before. I have a software engineering degree. I find it it's just not how my brain works. I find it very difficult, tedious, frustrating. I understand the concepts. I don't have a deep desire to be good at that type of programming. I like being competent at JavaScript in order to do the DOM manipulation that I need to do in order to build the UIs that I want to build. That's what I really love doing. Is I love building for the browser. I love building out UIs. I love accessibility. I have a very minimal aesthetic. That's just what I really, really love doing. So I recommend dabbling in vanilla when you can, even on just a few personal projects, whether it's vanilla JavaScript or vanilla CSS, just to get yourself back to basics. Because here's the thing. You don't need Node. You don't need a compiler. You don't need a package manager. You don't need a framework, right? You don't need a library. You are building what the browser renders natively. And it's always good to have a good, deep foundational understanding of those things, in my opinion. So, looks like you're ready to give a TED Talk in front of millions of people. Very professional. Well, okay. Day 3 hair and a hoodie. Ready for a TED Talk. Here we go. Honestly, every Saturday and Sunday is like a little TED Talk, isn't it? Isn't that what this is? And you all are a captive audience. You are forced to some degree until you click off to sit here and listen to whatever it is that I have to say. But you don't seem to complain about it. I assume if you don't like it, you'll just go watch somebody else, right? Speaking of which, do me a favor, if you haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. The channel is growing quite nicely. I'm pleased with our growth over the last few months. Liking the video helps the algorithm, helps get this pushed out to more people who might be interested in this type of content. Subscribe if you haven't already. I'm here every Saturday and Sunday for the most part. I have a short list of reasons why I would not do the weekend stream. They usually involve some sort of fiber festival. I'm a knitter and a crocheter and a spinner, and I will take a Saturday or a Sunday off to go to a fiber festival. But for the most part, even if it's a holiday, which there aren't any major holidays that fall on the weekends for the foreseeable future, so I'm going to be here every weekend because why not? I got nothing else to do. What do you got going on? You might as well come here and join me too, right? I want to give you, before we jump back into our project, I want to give you a little preview of what we're going to start working on next. So right now, we're about halfway through this. It's called the ink grid layout. I renamed it Italia because why not? We'll be done with this here by the end of November. And then in December, we're going to redesign this little personal project of mine called responsivevideogallery.com. I bought that domain name back in 2013, and I built this website in 2013 before I ever even had a job as a developer. And I haven't worked on it in years. I haven't done any serious work to this site in 8 years, since 2018. In the earliest parts of my career was obsessed with video galleries. So I'm going to show you how this works. I'm not going to play the audio because I don't want to get a copyright strike, but you'll get the picture here. So using jQuery and a jQuery plugin called FancyBox, because I didn't know how to build modal windows in 2013, I learned how to make a video gallery with videos that pop up. Because something that I did learn very early in my career is that you don't want to load a page with, what do we have here? 12 iframes. You don't want to put 12 YouTube iframes on a page. I was aware of the fact that page load time was absolutely a thing even back in 2013. So I figured out how to use FancyBox where I could load the iframe on click. Now, of course, I could probably do this today myself with vanilla JavaScript. And honestly, this site needs a redesign. But look at what I was doing back in 2013 before I ever even had a job as a developer. I was still trying to do, I did it. I was very much aware of the fact that I was benefiting from the work that other developers were doing and putting out into the ether for free, basically open source work. I was benefiting from other people's open source work, that they were freely sharing the work that they were doing, because boot camps, courses, tutorials, they just didn't exist back then the way they do now. And I wanted to give back, like immediately. I wanted to be able to give back to that community. And since I had this obsession with video galleries, I was like, I'm going to teach people how I made this. And then, of course, I got this SEO rich responsivevideogallery.com domain name. So this is the first website. This isn't the first website I ever made. It was like the first open source project that I ever made. And look at me like teaching people how to make this video gallery with CSS, vanilla everything except for the jQuery, because everybody wrote jQuery in 2013. So next, write the CSS. Even though I was deep in Sass at this point, I was like, Angela, you better do vanilla. Like, don't force people into Sass, because back then it was Sass or less. Those two things were very much neck and neck, and I didn't really use less. I used Sass, and I was like, just give people vanilla and let them decide for themselves. And I wrote these instructions, and then using FancyBox, loading the jQuery from a CDN. Yeah, I do look at this now 12 years later, and I'm like, girl, look at you. Look at you out here teaching other people how to do this work when you yourself have never had a job. Never, you have zero experience. I mean, look how much. Can you just imagine how big my head was back then? I was just like, I was unstoppable. Nobody was going to tell me no. Not a single person was going to tell me no. So, and look at, even back in 2013, article tags, figure tags around all of my images, H2s, all my template hierarchy, on point. I don't know. I look back at this and I'm just like, who were you? So anyways, but it desperately needs a redesign. Oh, and I was also checking, I was like, when did I do the first commit on this? So my first commit was November 14th, 2013. And I've made a couple small updates since then, but really I haven't done any major work on this in 8 years. So I really want to redesign this and rewrite that. I want to redo this in vanilla JavaScript. We could also use grid. The way I make, build grids and things like that, galleries now, is obviously completely different. It's better. So let's rewrite these instructions. Let's just come up with a new color scheme. Let's find a new way to design this. I'm going to have to do some design work offline. I don't want to put you guys through that design process in a live stream. So I'm going to do some work offline to build out some mock-ups. And then we're going to figure out the JavaScript together. We're obviously not going to use jQuery. And on click, we're going to load these iframes. And I think also it would be a good idea to do a JSON file, right? Because these aren't all YouTube videos. Some of these are also Vimeo. Oh, does this one even still work? Yeah, it does. It still works. So yeah, so this is what we're going to work on in December. Yeah. I also have, so this URL, responsive video gallery, I don't want to give too much away, but I have some other recently acquired SEO keyword rich URLs. And the last few years, I've really scaled back on like buying domain names, because it used to be that anytime I had an idea, I just immediately would go and run and buy the domain name. And then I never really ended up following through on those ideas. It's okay to have ideas and to think about them and then decide that you're going to abandon them. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I look at it a little bit differently now, especially since I'm working on incorporating more DevOps content into my channel, which I just feel like is so, so important. And I've also kind of nailed down how I present that material, both in a live stream and in a tutorial. So buying the domain names, building the projects in the live streams, and then doing the deployment and the DevOps as part of the live stream. Like, think of how many ways I can use one deployment. I can do it in a live stream, I can do it as a standalone video, and I can do it as the project compilation. And then I could actually build out these projects, put this open source work back out there for other people to use, and it's content, educational content for the people who enjoy this type of content, right? So it's like win-win-win. Yeah, so I have big plans for 2026, and all of it includes more DevOps, more. There's nothing wrong with just like building a random landing page, but if I could also make the live streams and the projects, like, watch me build the open source work also, like watch me build the thing where I teach you how I'm building it, and then I put it out there as like something that is educational on its own, if that makes sense. So anyways, okay, so that's what we're going to work on in December, and I'm pretty excited about it. I did go through this morning. I replaced this picture. So we have Heidi up here now, but not to worry. My giant head is still down here in the footer. There were some broken images, so I went through and made sure that all of the images were correctly working. And I'll be honest, today I don't have these media files ready. I don't have this video ready to go. I'm not in the mood to deal with like media files and sliders when we have so much CSS to write. I'm just in the mood for a chill, write some CSS kind of day. So that's what we're going to do. Eventually, we're going to deal with the slider and the video and the audio file. I just want to write a little CSS and have a relaxing day. That's what we're going to do. Okay, that's what we're going to do. Okay. New York Code is here. Hello, welcome. So happy to have you. And Rihan is here. Hi, hello, Rihan. Thank you for subscribing. See, if you're in the chat, I know you subscribed because my chat is subscriber only. So I should be thanking new people for also subscribing. So Paulo, thank you for subscribing. Andreas, thank you for subscribing. We so appreciate it. So also Monique is here. Welcome, Monique. Monique is triggering the Nightbot. And also a mod in the chat, Monique and Malik. Not related, just a coincidence. So, all right. Well, are we ready to just write a little CSS and have a relaxing day? All right. So let's just jump into some of this styling. So I'm temporarily going to style the SVG play button and headphones over top of this image. I expect that's going to change once we actually get the video and the audio file wired up. But I also want to style let's see here. Come on. I also want to style sort of this in like the content related to these cards. And in order to do that, I need to get those out of the way. I also noticed yesterday that we have a z-index issue here because I'm hovering over this button and nothing's happening. And that is because I know I changed the z-index on this container to -1 because it was floating over top of the navigation. So I'm going to change it back, which we'll just go ahead and do this right now. And then really we should be adjusting the z-index of the navigation to fix that stacking order. So, and then we're just going to work our way down the page, and we're just going to have a nice, relaxing day. No stress. You know, I don't like being one of those people that's like, oh, don't worry. There's just smile. Just like, what do they call it? Toxic positivity. I'm not a toxic positivity person, and I try not to be like that. But I also think that maybe if we can just create an environment where we can just like kind of relax a little bit and take a step back and zoom out, and maybe that helps with whatever else you have going on. I don't know. It helps me. I always feel better when I can take a walk or feel like maybe I did something where I feel like I kind of accomplished something. Those things help me. So, okay. And that's our slider. Oh, what was I doing here? I was fixing the z-index. So I'm going to change this to 4. This is what I changed yesterday. So I'm going to change this back to 0, and we'll see if that fixed it. And it did. It fixed it. And then do our buttons work? No. Wait. Oh, I guess technically I'm not live. How about now? So oh, we don't have z-index on the header. That's why. One, that's all we needed. Z-index on that parent container. That's it. So I'm going to change this back to 3. And then we just need to add some z-index here. And Bikash is here. Hello, welcome. We're so happy to have you. Thank you for subscribing. And Malik says, I have the stream on my second monitor while I fight with React. Well, good luck. Good luck, my friend. But also, congratulations for taking the plunge. Okay, so now our stacking order is fixed. We have access to our buttons again. So here's our audio player. Just going to go ahead and I'm just going to make our figures. I think for the audio player and the video player, it's probably a good idea to just add another class to this parent called media. Then it's just going to be easier for me to target these SVGs so I can temporarily position them till we actually get our media in there. So we'll just say media. So this is the media figure, which I want to be position relative. And we'll just give this a z index of 0 as a baseline. And then we'll say media, media SVG. And this will be position, position absolute. We'll do inset. I think inset works really well for this. So that's top, bottom, left, right. That's the shorthand for 0 for top, bottom, left, right. Inset 0. I think we have to give this a z index of 1. And then the SVG itself would be well, we would want the tap target to be, so I'm styling this a little bit differently, right? Because my SVGs are usually inside of my buttons, and I'm styling the button container in accordance with the SVG. So this is a little different. So we want the width to be, well, we already have a width and a height of 3 rems. So if we give this padding of 0.75 rems, that'll make the element itself 1.5 rems with 0.75 all the way around. And then these have, do these have fill or do these have stroke? I think these have fill. So let's do fill. Well, we already have a fill of black, right? So we want a background color of, and I'm going to use RGBA because we're going to do the same focus hover active. So we'll just set this to 100%. Yeah, sort of. Yeah, this is sort of working. Oh, 255. Yeah, that's working. Perfect. And then let's make sure that this has a border radius of 50%. And then we're going to say, well, actually, instead of inset, we would actually want top 50%, left 50%, and then we're going to translate negative 50% on the x-axis, negative 50% on the y-axis. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now let's do a hover active focus for that. So media, SVG focus, hover, and active. And we're going to change the background color. Well, really, we're going to change the alpha transparency to, what did we do here? We did 75%. And then we'll add a transition. And we're transitioning the background color. "300 milliseconds, ease in, out." Oh, and I think we put a border on these too. Yeah, I'll borrow this. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. Love it. And Bonil is here. Good day, everyone. Which one takes longer between front end and back end developments? What is your question? Which one takes longer to learn? I think it depends on the person, and I think you get out of it what you put into it. I don't think that there's a hard and fast answer to that. You get out of it what you put into it, and it honestly depends on what you enjoy doing the most. So I don't think that it's quantifiable which one takes longer. I think for me, I learned front end really, really quickly because I liked it. I had a deep desire to learn it, and I was happy to spend hours of my life working on it. So I learned it quickly. But I think admittedly, front end, CSS, it's difficult for a lot of people. Why? They hate it. They don't like it. It takes them a long time. So I think it depends on which one you want to do, which do you truly enjoy. I have people who come into the chat and are like, yeah, JavaScript, no problem. Very comfortable writing JavaScript. And I'm like, wow. Because for 12 years, it's been the hardest thing I've ever done is write JavaScript. So yeah, I think it just depends on what you're into and what you enjoy. And I think you get out of it what you put into it. So, and the Supreme Overlord is here. Hello, hello, welcome. We haven't seen you in a while. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for being here. Okay. Let's, oh, so like which takes longer to do when making a website? Yeah, sorry to be like so non-committal, but it depends entirely on the project that you're building. How complicated is your back end? How complicated is your front end? It's not a quantifiable thing that I can answer. If I was building a full stack app, no question, the front end would go very quickly for me because I am really not a full stack developer, and back end just takes me a really long time. Depends on the person. I know full stack developers who can bang out a back end, no problem. Front end, they hate it. They're not good at it. It takes them a long time. It just depends on what you enjoy doing, and you're going to get out of it what you put into it. So Christian Codes is here. Welcome, my friend. Happy to have you. I saw that you posted another video this morning. We love that. Everybody check out Christian Codes on YouTube. He started a YouTube channel, and he is, let's see here. He is, that's going to come up. Yeah. He is posting every day learning web development. So, oh, good. Wow. Look at you jumped to like 200 subs overnight. Good job. Yeah. Your day zero video is doing really well. So, I think this is so cool that you're doing this. So, yeah. And Paulo says exactly, if you don't find joy in what you're doing, find something else. So, If you really love it and you find joy in it, you won't even care how frustrating it is, because you will be so determined to solve that problem and figure it out. So just find what it is that you enjoy doing. Don't worry about what the most popular programming language is. They're all popular. They're all in demand. Every organization needs programmers doing literally every programming language. We need front end. We need back end. I know things are crazy right now with the job market and AI, but you will spend thousands of hours of your life working on this. Please, for the love of God, choose something that you enjoy, because you're never going to get through it if you don't truly love it. So, you're welcome. We're happy to have you. I'm glad that you found me. I think I'm trying to find, I want to find other people who are on YouTube, other creators, other devs, especially people who are doing content that is a little more real is the only word I can think of. A little, maybe, I hate calling other developers on YouTube inauthentic. I don't mean that. They're real human beings, which by default makes them authentic, but the content's a little too slick for my taste. So I want people who are doing things that are a little more real, kind of like what I'm doing. So yeah, happy to show people your channel. You're very welcome. Hey, listen, I'm happy to have you here. Hang out, see if you like front end. See if this is something that you enjoy doing. We're always happy to have you here and answer questions. And if there's anything you want to know about front end, just let me know. I will do my best. And believe me, if I could give like quantifiable answers to those types of questions, I would. I absolutely would. But it's just such a subjective thing. How long does it take to do something? I mean, I don't know. Literally, it takes as long as it takes. So there's that. Okay. So what do we need to do to make this? Oh, we do need to do kind of like this border, right? So let's make this like kind of this white border around the images. Yeah, that'll look nice. So how do we want to do that? Because the box, is the border on the inside of the box model or the outside? Why after 12 years don't I know the answer to that question? Hang on, let's find one of these buttons. It's on the inside, right? So here's border. Where's that thing? Layout. Where's that thing that's always in my way that I'm trying to hide? Styles computed. Right here. Yeah, border's on the inside of the box model, right? I think so. Okay. Let's just put is it? Hang on. Gosh darn it. Is border on the inside or the outside of the box model? The border is on the outside of the content and padding, but on the inside of the margin. So, okay, so that means that border is going to have to be absolutely positioned over top of the image. So, oh yeah, I found it. It's the thing that's always in my way that I'm constantly trying to hide. So the border's on the outside of the box model, which means that if we add border to this image, it's going to sit outside of the image, and we want this border to be over top of the image with some opacity. That's how I'm interpreting this. So in order to do that, really the easiest way to do that is to just use an after pseudo class. So that's what we're going to do on all of our figure tags, all of our card figure tags. So let's go back up to the grid right here. So let's make sure that this is position relative, which means then that we do not, if we're going to put position relative on the parent figure, that means that we don't need this right here. This is redundant, and I really only did this because I didn't want position relative on the figure for every element if I only thought I needed it for 2 elements. So we don't need that because it's just going to be on the main parent figure. So position relative, which means I'm just going to give this a z index of 0 just as a baseline. And then we're going to create a pseudo element. So we're going to say card, and we can use before. And pseudo elements actually create an element in the DOM, but in order to get it to show up, you have to have the content property. Even if you don't use it, you have to have it, or it won't appear in the DOM. And then I'm going to say display block, position absolute. We're going to say width 100%, height 100%, top 0, left 0. Could probably use inset, but old habits. And then I'm going to say border, 10 pixels, solid, and then let's actually use RGBA so we can give it some transparency. So 255, 255, 255 is white, and let's see how 50% looks. Oh, and do we also need some z-index? Oh, I put it on the, hang on, where did I put it? I put it on the card. Hang on, I'm going to put it on the figure. There. There, what do we think? I think she's a little thick. So let's knock her down to 8 pixels. And I think it could be a little darker, so maybe 75%. Oh, I think that's too dark. There, I like that. What do we think? It's a nice touch. And then let's give this a little more margin here. So 8 pixels is 0.5 rems, right? 1 rem, 16 pixels. And I know I put a 0.5 rem margin here to push these buttons away. So let's change the margin here and push them out again. So let's see here. So slider controls, margin 0.5 rems on the left and right, 642. Right here. So let's change this to 1 rem. There. Beautiful. So let's style this content now. Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do this double dash. Let's just style the text for now. How would I do that? I suppose I could have 2 lines that sit behind lifestyle that are different widths. And then we would just have padding around lifestyle with a background color of white. That might be the best way to do that. So we have our card content. Come down here. So this is the card content. And whoops, This is the category. So we'll say text transform uppercase. Whoops. Well, I think first of all, we want to make sure everything is center justified. So let's do card content, text align center. And then text transform uppercase. Let's give this a little letter spacing, maybe a pixel. We'll change the color to blue. And I'm not going to make it, I know that in the mock-up it's smaller than that, but it really needs to be at least 1 rem to be accessible, so I'm not going to make it smaller. And then let's make sure maybe that we put a little margin on top of the card content to push it down. So maybe a rem on top, 0 on the left and right, 0 on the bottom. Yeah, that works. And then so the category is in a div, which by default is display block. Let's change this to display inline block, which will give us a little more flexibility. So it behaves like an inline element, but we could still add padding and margin. And then let's give it some padding, 0 on the top and bottom, 1 rem on the left and right. So let's look at this here. So you can see there that it doesn't span the full width. Like the H3 here is also display block. So when you hover on it, it's always taking up the full width. Whereas if we said for H1, H2, H3, if we change this to display inline block, you can see now that it's behaving in line, right? We don't want to do that. That was just for the sake of example. And since we have text align center on the parent, it automatically centers it. So I think what we can do, I feel like we could do a border. We could do a pseudo element, like we could do a before and after pseudo element that is absolutely positioned and that sits behind the div. And then if we put background color white on this div, you would see the 2 dashes on the sides. I feel like that's going to work. So let's make sure that we have a background color of white. And then we'll do category, we'll do before. To add the content property. And then I'm going to say display block. Well, I don't even think that matters. I think probably by default it's display block, but I don't remember. Position absolute. I'm going to say top 0, left 0. I'm going to say width 0, height 0, border bottom 1 pixel, solid. Oh, we do need a width. And blue. And the width is going to be, so if this is 117.99 pixels, how much wider does that need to be? Let's just make it 200 pixels. And then the top is probably going to need to be, Well, if it's 26.4 pixels tall, let's just make the top, push it down 10 pixels. We can adjust it. And then we would want the Z index to be, I think, -1, which means this has to be position relative. And the Z index has to be 0. We're so close. We're so close. Yeah. I can't just scoot it behind there, huh? It might be better to just put 2 empty divs in there and style those instead. No one is here. Hello, welcome. Glad you could join us. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. You can't be higher or lower than your parent container. So here's our figure. Here's our before element. I mean, why can I hide that behind the fig? Oh, because I'm hiding it behind the image, not the figure. If this image wasn't here, so if the image isn't there, and I make this -1, I can't hide it behind its own container. Yeah. So, so maybe instead we can just put this inside of another div. So this would be category. This would be class. Could just say type. Because I don't think I'm actually going to style this. Probably doesn't even need. Yeah, I would style this because I'm going to make this display inline black. Yeah. category. Which do I want to be display inline block? Which do I want to be? Well, if the parent is display inline block, I don't know. So let's just try a couple things. Oh, did I not save? Oh, which one? I only did one. Hang on. Right here. Here it is. Okay. So this is display block, but it's inside a container that's display inline block. And now it sits behind this container. Yes. So this needs to be, because it's left 0, but 0 is this container. So we want, I think we can just do, if it's left 0, I think we can just say transform, translate X, %50 is too much. Oh, well, but if the width is 200, then maybe just 100 pixels, if we know the width, right? Or I guess probably 50, which equals 20%, so that makes sense now. Yeah, 50. Doesn't look quite even though, does it? So if it's left, hang on, I have to think about this, math. So if it's left set at 0, well, the width of this is 117.99, so 118. Maybe we just set the width of this. We just set the width of this to 120. But that's not very flexible, is it? It's not very flexible. Yeah, 20% doesn't look quite right, does it? Although I'm looking at the wrong thing here. I'm looking up here at all of this stuff, and I haven't changed the markup here. I only need to look at this, and this is even. So let's update our markup, and this is going to work. This is going to work. I really don't want to set a bunch of widths on anything that contains content, because that's not flexible. If somebody forks this and uses this in a, you know, I would assume that somebody would fork this and use this with something dynamic like an API, right? So I don't want to start putting widths on containers that have content, at least not this. not in a container that holds one word. So yeah. So we'll do transform, translate x minus 20%. Also, this is the wrong color. It needs to be light gray. And then let's set this to 0. So it's going to be at the top, but let's get our second thing in there. And then let's update our markup. It's going to work. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. Okay, so we want to do this. Nope, not span, div. Yeah, look at that. Beautiful. Okay, let's get our second one in there, and then we can position them on the y-axis. Look at us solving problems. So I think we can copy this and do an after. Well, I actually think that we can do this. And then we only have to change a couple things here. So we don't need this. We don't need that. We don't need that. We need this. And then we can do 175. And we're going to have to adjust this. So what's 175? We're going to have to push this down a little bit. Yeah, that works. 20% works. No, it doesn't. So 20% is a fifth. So 175 divided by 5 is 35. Divided by 175 is 20%. Struggling with the math. Maybe we make sure, yeah, I think we need to, let's make this display inline block. So we're always starting at the furthest point. Yeah. So now we're starting. Yeah. Okay. So type, just this word now is inline block. Just lifestyle is inline block, which means that the lines are on the parent container, which start at the edge, which is going to make this way easier. So now we're going to do left 50% and translate X 50%. And then we don't have to do this anymore. Right here. Right here. Okay, so now we want to make sure that these are distributed evenly on the y-axis. So I think we would want it to be at 1/3 and 2/3, right? So 1, 2, 3, 1/3, 2/3. So we could push this down. This would be top 33%, and then this would be top 66%. Beautiful. And we can adjust that if we want to. What do we think? Super flexible, totally dynamic, uses percentages. I think there could be a little squishy, a little more squished together. So what's another way to evenly distribute those? So maybe this one is, maybe this is 40% and this is 60%. Yeah, that looks great. We love that. We love that. 1 second. And Brown is here. Trademarked. Trademark Brown. Welcome. Thank you. Thank you for subscribing. And Tajavshi, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name incorrectly. You can be a great CSS teacher. Why don't you use Tailwind CSS? Well, I just prefer to do it myself. I've been doing it for 12 years. And I like knowing how to do it, and I think it's fun and interesting, and I just like knowing how to do it. So there's that. I haven't had that question. I haven't had the Tailwind question in a while. So I am now at the point where I enjoy getting the question because I like giving the answer. So yeah, I've never used frameworks or libraries for CSS. I've never built a complete project with Bootstrap or Foundation. I've used parts of Bootstrap and Foundation in projects, but I've never had a need to use a framework. I enjoy doing it myself. I've been hired specifically for jobs and been told, we're hiring you because you don't rely on a framework or a framework or a library. You can write the CSS yourself. So I think it still has tremendous value to learn how to do this yourself. I would like to see more junior developers know how to do some basic core CSS things. I give this example in almost every stream. The junior developer that I know who is tens of thousands of dollars in debt from attending a boot camp can build a full stack React app, but doesn't know basic CSS, doesn't know what a display property is. She actually said to me one day, oh yeah, I've seen spans before. I see those around, but what are they? What do they do? What are those for? And I was just like, she doesn't know display block, display inline block, or display inline. She doesn't know the difference between a div and a span. She kept nesting paragraph tags inside of paragraph tags. Couldn't figure out why the HTML was always breaking. So I'm just an advocate for the basics and understanding the basics. So, and I'm not against frameworks. I have never used React, but I have built a couple full stack apps with Angular. And at my last job, I used Vue.js for 7 years. So I'm pretty well versed in Vue. I understand why frameworks are important, why organizations use them. I think back to the sites that I worked on when I was at St. Thomas, and I would never want to do all of that API work using vanilla JavaScript, not in a million years. So I understand why frameworks, especially JavaScript frameworks, are important. I totally get it. But on this channel, I just want to promote the basics, and I want to see more people. I want to see more people doing and understanding the basics. That's all. So I'll email you my review of Don't Make Me Think later this week. I'm still a noob, so it might not be great. Oh, I think it'll be great. Don't you worry. Don't you worry. Frameworks and IBS come and go. Yeah, totally. Libs, libraries. Got it. I was like, irritable bowel syndrome. Libraries. Got it. Yeah, absolutely. Listen, when I was starting back in when did Bootstrap come out? The end of 2011, 2010, 2011. Bootstrap was it, man. Everybody loved Bootstrap. Everybody was using it. I remember doing lynda.com. I did a lynda.com course on using Bootstrap, and I was like, why would I do this? I was like, I hate this. I'm not actually writing CSS. I'm just applying classes to markup. I didn't like it. But I also enjoyed writing CSS. That's why I didn't do it. So, I'm doing this for 12 years. OMG. Yes. What is the part about this that shocks you? I'm curious. What part about this shocks you? So, no one, could you please share other web-related books you recommend, or maybe give a small tour of your bookshelf? Yeah, absolutely. I've decluttered a lot of books over the years. I could probably give you a good tour of my Kindle library and my actual bookshelf. So honestly, that's a pretty good video idea, maybe, or even a short idea. Yeah, I could actually, that would be kind of a fun video idea, don't you think? Maybe I could do like a tour of my bookshelf as a video, unless you really wanted to see that as a live stream. We could definitely do like maybe a book club live stream if you are interested in something like that. Yeah, let me know. Let me know what you're thinking. So, are you interested in AI things? I mean, are you learning? Yeah, I mean, I use AI all the time. We use AI on this channel for a lot of things. I don't really need AI to write CSS. I know how to write CSS. I like solving problems with CSS, like what you just saw me do. I would never ask AI for help with that because I enjoy working through those problems and figuring that stuff out for myself. But ask Monique and Malik and no one, you've been here for a while. Ask these guys and they will tell you I am not afraid to use AI. I use ChatGPT all the time. ChatGPT is amazing at accessibility and SEO in particular. It's so good at helping me sort of drill down into what I need to do to make sure my code is accessible. I don't use it as much anymore because honestly, I'm at a point now where I'm building so many projects. I'm starting a new project almost every week for all the various types of videos that I'm doing, that I've just nailing down a really good process and system. So I just don't need as much help with even accessibility and SEO as I used to. I'm definitely light on the JavaScript. I do as much JavaScript as I need for DOM manipulation. It's not my strength. And when I do need to use JavaScript on this channel, I tend to lean heavily into either ChatGPT or GitHub Copilot. Beyond using it for coding, no, I'm not doing a deep dive into understanding machine learning or large language models. I think it's marginally interesting, but I'm not really spending a lot of time learning about either of those things. I understand the nuts and bolts of AI and how it works, but what I do what I enjoy, which is building UIs and landing pages and responsive navigation and responsive tables and responsive video galleries and building layouts and solving quirky little CSS problems. It's just really what I enjoy doing. So there's that. So, And no one says anything is fine, whether it's a live stream or a video. You know, I think I will do a video this week because I have my hands full right now with a couple of big projects, and I am really behind on my editing. Like, I literally have 10 or 12 hours of project videos that I am behind on editing, and I'm stressing myself out even thinking about it. And a fun video, like a tour of my bookshelf, I think that is such a great idea, and it would be relatively easy for me to make a video like that. So I think I will go ahead and do that. And yeah, no pressure. Whenever you want to send me your review, no pressure whatsoever. I don't want you to feel like I'm pressuring you into doing that, but if you would like to send it to me, I would love to see it, and I would love to share it, because that book is old. I mean, it's pretty old, but I think it's absolutely relevant, and your feedback on that book makes me think that you also feel like it's a super relevant book. So I'm curious to see what you think, how you feel about it. So, and Tajavshi, oh, I hope I'm saying that correctly. I know I'm not. Currently, I am learning deep learning, NLP, RL, and AI engineering. I think that's great. That's obviously a very high demand part of technology right now. And if you have an interest in it and you enjoy it and you're good at it, yeah, do it. We love AI here. We have nothing against AI here, but we also, our own experience using AI is that it's not taking over for developers anytime soon. I mean, I know that's not what we're talking about here, but I get a fair amount when I make shorts about AI. I think I've made one like 4 or 5 minute video about AI, just responding to the chat about how I don't think AI is taking over for developers. I get two types of comment. I get the first type of comment is like, you don't know what you're talking about. That's my nice way of saying what they're saying. They're like, you have no idea what you're talking about. Of course AI is taking over. And then I get the people like us who actually use AI, and we're like, yeah, no, we're not worried right now. So it's fantastic. It's obviously a fantastic strategic coding partner, but it gets a lot of stuff wrong. So it gets a lot of stuff wrong, but we still love it. We still love it. Okay. All right. I'm very happy that I solved this problem, and I only needed one extra div to do it. This makes me very, very happy. So let's keep going here. So our H1s, H2s, and H3s by default only have margin on the bottom. I can either add margin on the top just for this H3, or we can put a little margin on the bottom of the category. And let's see here. I think that's what I'll do. I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to give this a little margin on the bottom. Also, if I was like a Tailwind person, would it be nearly as interesting for the 12 people who are currently watching this live stream if I was just using Tailwind and not actually writing the CSS? This is a legitimate question that I'm asking. Do you watch my live streams because you genuinely enjoy watching somebody write the code themselves, or do you want to see somebody applying classes to markup in order to build a web page? This is my question to you. I would like to know, for anybody watching, what your answer is, because it doesn't sound interesting to me. But if I'm wrong, please let me know. I'm all ears. So, okay. So we need a slightly lighter gray, but I don't think we have this defined as a variable. So let's just quickly pop over to color contrast checker, because I don't remember what we've used in the past. Color contrast checker. So if our background is white and we did like a, that definitely fails. So I'm trying to think. That also fails. So I'm thinking I'm going in the wrong direction, I think. Yeah. Let's go. So 6 6s. What about 7? Okay, so we'll go with, we're going to do like kind of a medium gray. And this is accessible. So this will pass for normal text AA. So let's put that into, we'll do a medium gray. And we said what? 6s. And so this is normal text AA. And Paula says he's into vanilla. Good. Yeah. I don't think it would be nearly as interesting to watch somebody. I don't know. I feel like this is more interesting. Obviously, that's why I'm doing it. So. But I mean, who am I to say, right? Who am I to say what is or isn't interesting? I'm just here to do what I enjoy. That's all. I'm just here to do what I enjoy. So, yeah, I think whether you love frameworks or not, part of the appeal of a channel doing vanilla is that it's doing vanilla, right? So, I'm here because everything is raw and vanilla. We call that a niche. On the mean streets of YouTube, we call that a niche. Okay, so this is our time comments. And I'm not going to make this smaller because it's really not going to be accessible. So we're just going to say color. Give it our medium gray. I don't think we're going to be doing that much with this. Oh, you can hardly tell. Should we just make it a different color altogether? And I really don't want to make it smaller. It's medium gray is like, so the orange is only going to work for large text. I think this tan was accent only. So the blue and the red are both accessible. Darn accessibility. Ruins it all the time. Okay, so we have to do something a little different. I think we have to do something a little different with this one. Like maybe make it uppercase or something. I really don't want to make it smaller. Okay, let's just, what is the minimum? Oh, okay. There is no single minimum font size, but the standard for body text is a minimum of 14 to 16 pixels for web and documents, with no text smaller than 9 points or 12 pixels, especially for disclaimers and footnotes. The most important guideline is that users must be able to resize text without losing functionality, so using relative units like M or rem is recommended. Okay, general recommendations, body text. Aim for at least 16 pixels for web content, 14 for documents. According to the Bureau of Internet Accessibility, smallest text. No text should be smaller than 9 points or 12 pixels, especially for things like disclaimers, footnotes, or copyright notices, as this can be illegible for many users. Relative units. Use relative units like ems, rems, percentages instead of absolute units like pixels or points, so users can resize the text to their needs without breaking the layout. Okay, so this makes me feel like it is okay to maybe bump this down to 14 pixels for the sake of the design. I guess reading that, I would feel more comfortable. So 14 pixels would be, let's do some quick math here. So 1 rem is 16, so I need a, hang on, what's a rem converter? So what would be, if 16 pixels is 1 rem, what is 0.9 rems? 14.4 pixels. So font size 0.9 rem. Pixel to rem converter. Okay. Calculation based on a font size of 16. So if we wanted this to be just 14, that would be 0.875 rems. All right. So what does this say now? Smallest text. No text should be smaller than 12 pixels. .75. What do we think? Do we think that's too small? You can definitely zoom in. So we're using relative units. How do we feel about this? Are we breaking rules? Oh, Christian's asking a good question. Have you used clamp on font sizes? I do. I think we used clamp on some of our header sizes. Do we have clamp here someplace? Yes. So we're using clamp on the secondary heading. We're using clamp on some margin and some padding. We're using clamp on the SVG for mobile. So yeah, I am definitely a big fan of the clamp. We like the clamp here. For this, and I would be fine using clamp here too. I don't think I need it. I'm really just more trying to make sure what's the minimum size that I can go here without and still remain accessible. So, oh, and you know what else we need to do? We need to make sure that this is a white box. So our articles need to have a background color of white. So where's our card? We can either put it on the entire article or just put it on the card. So we have to put it on, we should probably just put it here. Well, yeah, we can just put it here. And then we're gonna have to change the background color of our type. And then we just need a little bit of padding on the bottom here. So we'll just say padding. 0 on the top, 0 on the left and right, 1 on the bottom. And then let's update our type. So this will be white after all. There. Really want to give this some box shadow. Really want to give it some box shadow, even though it's not in the mock-up. So we'll do box shadow. 1 pixel on the x-axis, 1 pixel on the y-axis, 1 pixel blur, 1 pixel spread. So it'll be sort of down in the corner, in that lower right-hand corner. And then we'll do RGBA, and it's 0, 0, 0, 10% alpha transparency. Yeah, I like that. We love a little box shadow here. Look at that. It's actually turning into something. It's actually turning into something. I love it. Okay. What's the next thing here? So I'm good with all of this. I'm good with all of this. I feel like I got permission to reduce the font size and still be accessible because everything is in relative units. Yeah. This would be a great portfolio page. If you needed a portfolio page, you could put a little blurb about yourself at the top, have all your projects here. This would be a fantastic portfolio page. So I'm just saying, in my opinion. Okay, what's next? Okay, we have a load more button. Let's see here. Where are you? So here is our load more button. Let's collapse this. There we go. So the button is right outside of the wrap. It's got a type of button. So what do we have going on here? Okay, so we've got bullets on either side. So I guess we can do and. Okay. It's capitalized. What do we have going on back here? I know you can do this with a linear gradient. You can make lines with a linear gradient. So we'll probably want to do, well, let's just get everything figured out, and then we'll figure out how to do that linear gradient. And the bullets are different colors, so let's put the bullets in spans. Spans by default inline elements, so they'll flow with the content. And let's make this one of our global button styles so we could use this in another spot. So here's our default button. We only have one button style. So we could call this, what do we want to call this? Button. I'm going to call it buttons lines. So those are the classes that we would give this. So this would be class button lines. So Text transform uppercase, letter spacing 1 pixel, and then button, lines, span. Oh. The color is going to be blue. And then a background. So let's take the border, none. Background color is going to be white. And then the color is going to be black. And then probably we could just do, but if I do a box shadow, how can I add the lines? So I don't want to do a box shadow. So button, lines, after. I guess I'm going to do a pseudo element, which means that I need this to be position relative. So we need the content property for that to work. I'm going to say display block. The width is 100%. The height is 100%. So basically it's going to mimic the exact same size as its parent container. The background color will be, we'll say blue. And then we would want the position to be absolute. The top is what, 5 pixels left, 5 pixels. And then this would be z index 0. And then this would be z index -1 because we want it to sit behind, right? That didn't work. Let's see here. After. Let's see where we went wrong. Oh, did I do this again? The load more needs to be inside a div. This is the exact same thing that I just went through. I'm not going to be able to put a pseudo element behind its parent container. I have to have this load more in its own container. Which is just fine. So let's put this in a div. It looks a little crazy right now. Oh, these spans are still going to have to be inside this div though. That's why it's doing that. So here's the div. There's the pseudo element. So that means that button lines think this is going to need some padding. Boom, that worked. Okay, so what is the padding up here? So this is going to need some padding. So really, I think our main button container, just for this style, we have to take the padding off and put it on that div for this to work. How do you not love this? How do you not love CSS? I don't get it. Okay, so let's get this thing centered. So I think we're still display inline block by default. Yep, right here, the user agent style sheet, display inline block. So that means, well, I don't want to put display, well, I could just put text align center on the grid and it would center it. Everything else is centered, so I don't think it would matter, but I don't really want to do that. What if I just made this? No, I don't want to do that. Yeah, we can just put text align center on the parent. But that's not gonna, then how do I use this in other spots? What's the easiest way to center? Can you just margin 0 auto a display inline element? I don't know if that works because we don't have a width on it. Yeah, that doesn't work. Oh, let's just, we should just put a div around this and display. Yeah, just Angela, stop even worrying about this. So we'll just call this the button container. Oops. There's a button container, and then we'll do this. The easiest way in the world to center a display inline block. So let me take out, where did I have this? This, we don't need this. Beautiful. So now we can put a little in our button container. That way we don't have text align center on the parent. We could just put text align center on the grid, which is technically the parent of the button. And it wouldn't have any impact on the grid because, first of all, the grid is display grid, and all of the content is already text align center. But if you want to just take these styles and apply them to any button, so button lines, the buttons always display inline block, and you need an easy way to center it. The easiest way to center something that is display inline block is to just put text align center on the parent. That way you don't have to define the width, do margin 0 auto. You keep it nice and dynamic. You don't have to make your button like min width 200 pixels or something like that. So that's that. I've spent more time than I care to admit arm wrestling with how to center display inline block, and I guess I've just succumbed to the fact that just do the thing that's the simplest. Just use the simplest native thing that you can, and not without putting some sort of like pixel restraint on the size of the button in order to get it centered. So Let's give this a little bit of margin, or I guess padding. No, margin. So I'm just going to do 1 rem of margin on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right, and that's just going to push it away a little bit. Okay. So what else do we need to do here? I'll admit that I don't really care about these lines. Don't really care about the lines. I got the effect that I want. I do want to give it a little more of an offset. And do we need to push those? Yeah, I think we need to put a little more space here in between the dots. And if we want to come back and work on that, we can. I don't really care. So let's change this. Let's give it a little more offset. And then here's the spans. We can't really, we could definitely change this to display inline block because again, it keeps it in line, but it lets us add margin and padding. So maybe that's a good idea. And then we can add some padding on the left and right. So maybe 0.25 rems on the left and right. Yeah, look at that. I'm going to give it a little more. And then I think since it's display inline block, you can also use vertical align middle. Those two things work together beautifully. That may even make a difference. Yeah, it did, but it pushed it down. I don't think that makes a difference. No, we'll just leave it. It's fine. All right, there's our button. What's next? So now we're getting into this top footer territory. And Xavier is here. Will AI replace front-end developers? Well, first of all, welcome, Xavier. Happy to have you. Thank you for subscribing. And yeah, Malik is very good at answering these questions. Not even close. AI just makes devs work better and faster. Nowhere close to replacing. Yeah, he is right on. And Xavier says there's not many job openings right now for junior developers. Yeah, it's rough right now for junior devs. There's a surplus of really experienced developers on the market. Tech companies were over hiring during COVID, and with the mass layoffs, you guys are up against a lot of really stiff competition, aren't you? Really experienced developers out looking for jobs right now. And Malik says, true, I'm in the same boat as you, but we have to keep fighting the good fight and keep improving our skills. Yeah, I really want to see people who want to do this work get jobs and succeed. You don't know how badly I want you all to succeed and become skilled, seasoned, experienced developers. So I will encourage you as much as I possibly can. I really, really will. I want everybody who wants to do this work to do it because it's not perfect. Whoops. It's not perfect, but it is very rewarding. So It is very rewarding. I'm the happiest I've ever been as a developer. So it's also the most pissed off I've ever been. But that's just because I care. It's just because I care so much. So, okay. You know what? We'll probably, maybe, possibly come back and figure out how to do this linear gradient, which I know we can do these lines with the linear gradient. I just can't be bothered right now. So, and I see that we have another opportunity for a linear gradient here. So maybe once we get down to this button, we'll do it. I just really, we only have about 10 or 15 minutes left to go here. I just want to roughly start to get this footer styled. So this is the footer items. Let's look here. So footer items item. Footer items. Oops. So let's just do display grid. Grid template columns. Repeat 3, 1 FR. Are we supposed to have a comma here? I can never remember. Apparently we are. I can't keep track of where you need a comma and you don't need a comma. Okay, so there's our grid, and let's give this a little bit of gap. Say 2 rems. And then, all right, so we have kind of a unique header here. I don't love it. All caps. But who am I? Who am I to say that we shouldn't do that? And then we've got, okay, so let's think about this. Headers by default are block level elements. So if we put a border bottom on the header, it will span the full width. And then we could do a pseudo element with a bullet as content and position it over top of the line. Boy, we're doing a lot of these in this design, which I did not plan. And I didn't even realize now that until we're in it, we're doing it. So, yeah, so, but I'm here for it. I like it. Tertiary heading. So just for this tertiary heading, we're going to say text transform. Not sure about this decision, this design decision, but trying to keep an open mind. Well, but we're using, this is a totally different font, I think, than this. I honestly don't like, have you figured out yet that I don't want to do this and I don't like it? But I'm fine with this. So we'll keep that. We have margin, but margin's on the outside of the box model, right? It's padding, border, margin. So let's add some padding. We'll say 2 rems on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and right. And then we can say border bottom, 1 pixel solid. And then let's use our light gray. Oh, that's a pretty light. Let's use our medium gray. Yeah, that's fine. And then let's make sure, I think we can just say text align center. Oh, there we go. I feel like we need to So I think we need to put some. So here's our grid container. Let's put a little margin on the bottom of the grid container just to push those sections apart. Yeah, if we need to push that down a little bit more later on, we can. Okay. So we're going to do another pseudo element. We'll say, we can use before. And the content will be, I'm just going to put a bullet in there. And then this is going to have to be position relative. And then we'll give this a z index of 0. And are we going to run into the exact same problem that we just had? Although if they're the same color, you won't be able to tell if one is on top of the other. Or we could just make sure that we have latest posts inside a div. I feel like that we solved this problem by doing that, right? Let's try it. Position absolute. So we would want this to be top 50%, left 50%, transform, translate, negative 50%, negative 50%, and then color blue, z index -1. Okay, so this put it smack dab in the middle of the container, which means that we actually want this to be bottom 0. So we're just pushing it down. Okay, let's think about this. No, it would be top 100, because if you go top 100, you push it down just beneath the container. And then so instead of a bullet, we can just make our own little dot. And then we're going to have more control over it. And we can make it a nice little circle, just like this with the border. Yeah. So we'll say display block. We could say width 15 pixels, height 15 pixels, border, we'll do border 1 pixel solid, var blue. We won't need color. Border radius 50% to make it a circle, and then a background color of white. It's like I was meant to do this job. How do you not love CSS? What do we think? I think we also need a container around this. So I think we need a wrap around, I think we need a wrap around the entire footer. We must have overlooked that. There we go. Now this needs to be, what do we think this is here? The aspect ratio of this is. So this is like 370 by 250. 370 divided by 250, 1.48. So 1.48, 1.5 to 1. We'll just do 1.5 to 1. So this would be our item figure. We're just going to finish styling this one little element and we'll be done here for today. So this is our item figure, which is going to be width 100%, height, auto, and then we'll do aspect ratio 1.5 to 1. And then our item image is going to be width 100%, height 100%, and then object fit cover. There we go. Let's do object position and push that image down a little bit. So by default, object position or object fit cover, the focal point is the center. So it's always 50%, 50% on the X and Y axis, but we can shift that. So object position, X, Y. So the X would be the center, and then the top would be any value you want. So let's say 10 pixels. You can see we pushed that down now 10 pixels. Let's see if we can adjust this a little bit. So if I hover here. So actually we want to probably go negative instead. So maybe negative 20 pixels to move that up a bit. So without it, you can see it there. That might not be the best picture. Maybe I'll look for a different picture, but you get the idea. So we'll go negative 20 pixels. So. Well, I think this is a good place to stop for today. Yeah, I think I will look for a different picture. Let's go ahead and commit this. Just so I don't forget. Continued styling of grid and footer. All right. And that is that. What do we think? This was a pretty good day. This was a good day. It is coming along very nicely. Coming along nicely, good progress today. Thank you to Malik and Monique, our mods in the chat. Thank you to Paolo, Andreas, New York Code was here, Rehan was here, Bikash was here, Bonil was here. Gosh, I hope I'm not butchering the names. Supreme Overlord was here. We hadn't seen Supreme Overlord in a while. Christian Codes. No one was here. Brown Trademarked was here. Teja Shavi was here. Let's see here. Xavier was here as well. You're very welcome, Paolo. What else would I be doing, honestly? I got nothing else going on. Where else would I be? I'm happy to share my time with you all. Yeah, no, thank you. Well, thank you for saying so. I appreciate that you appreciate it. I just have had a running dialogue going in my head every time I work. So I figure why not share it with the world? I mean, I was thinking today when I was looking up my responsive video gallery, checking to see when my first commit was before I ever had a job, and then really looking through that site, which I hadn't done in such a long time. And I was like, dang it. Here I was, zero experience, had never even worked as a developer, and I was already trying to like teach people what I knew how to do. I genuinely enjoy it. I genuinely enjoy the teaching. It's so fun. So fun. Yeah, so that's that. Well, come back next weekend. We have 2 weekends left. I try to pick projects that we can get done in about a month of live streaming. And then when I'm done, if you're not aware of this or if you're new here, and then I take every single live stream and I edit out the chat and I edit it into one very focused project video, which could be anywhere from 8, 9, 10, sometimes up to 12 hours long. And I release that then as a separate project that is just very focused. So no chat, no rants, no nothing. So, it's great content. It's very good content for the channel. So, yeah, and hopefully other people get something out of it. Yeah. So I like watching other people work. I like seeing how people are thinking through and problem solving. So, all right. We had a good crowd today. We had a great crowd today. I really appreciate everybody who subscribes, who likes, who comes into the chat, asks good questions. And we find it's been weeks since we've had somebody ask us, why aren't we using Tailwind? I love it. That's like the marker of true engagement is people want to know why you're not using Tailwind. I'm here for it. So yeah, thanks to everybody who hangs out with me. Have a great rest of your week wherever you are. Come back next weekend. We'll continue to chip away at the CSS on the footer. Eventually we will get our slider and our media files done as well. And that's that. Okay, everybody, have a good one. I'll see you in the next one next weekend.